Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the back garden yard. Today we're talking tomatoes. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to tie up and trim your tomato plants, and that will cause them to double the yield, maybe even triple the yield. So what are we going to do to make these tomato plants do so well? Well, first let's just take a look at the tomatoes. And here they are. As you see, this one has grown out so big that it has fallen over. Well, the leaves are touching the ground, and we know that's a no-no. And you can see it's starting to bloom. And then we've got what they call a sucker, or I like to call a runner. It's come out and it's on the other side of the fence. Here is another one. And here is another one. So it's making lots and lots of suckers. And we are going to use those suckers to increase our yield. Now here's the next plant. That's number 2. Here's number 3. It's about to fall over also. There's number 4 and number 5. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you just what to do with a couple of these, and then I'll finish it and we will take a look at the finished trimming and tying. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pull this mulch out so we can see exactly what's going on. So we're going to go ahead and pull the mulch from around these plants. And once again, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one and we'll work on it. And there we go. Okay, and you can see the roots that are coming out up top. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pull dirt up over that so that when the plants keep growing, they're going to have plenty of nutrients to put those roots into, because they're going to really need to be large plants if we're going to make them make 20 pounds of tomatoes a piece. So that's what's going on here. So that's why I pulled the mulch out, because I went ahead and plowed the garden today, so there's lots of loose soil here. So after I trim them, I'm going to pull up a whole lot of soil around this base into even a bigger mound. So first though, let's just take a look and see what we want to trim here. And what we're going to want to trim is going to be any leaf that is now not needed. And that would be this leaf. And we don't want to trim it right at the edge. We want it to shrink and heal. So you want to leave about a ½ inch or so when you trim these. And I'll pick these up in a minute. Okay, same thing with this leaf down here. We're going to cut that off. We're going to cut this one off. And of course we're going to leave this big leader because it's a new plant. Okay, there's a leader starting right there that is actually coming out from this leader. I think I'll leave that for now. And then we have another big leaf right here that's coming out for this leader. We're going to cut that. I think you get the picture. So here's a leader that's coming down here. It's got that big leaf below it. It's not needed. We're cutting it. Okay, so that is what we're going to do. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and tie it, and let me show you how we do that. So what I've done is gone ahead and cut several pieces that are about 2 feet long. And we are going to go ahead and tie this up, and I will show you how it looks as we tie it. So what we want to do is, we've got this trellis here. We want to make it so that the leaders go up and down the trellis and not come straight out. And what they'll do is then they will make a canopy over the tomatoes that will help protect them from the strong July sun that we're going to have when they start to ripen. So that is why you want to actually keep those leaders and let them grow, because they're going to make a canopy over the tomatoes. And that's very important here in Georgia and in a lot of places that people are growing these tomatoes. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we've got to support this main stem, and we want to get it back up, and we can literally put some of these leaves through the fence if we like, but I'm wanting this to be supported, and so I'm going to tie it up right here, and I'm going to put it right here and tie it. Couple of square knots is totally enough with this twine. This twine I get at Home Depot, and I like it because it'll won't cut the plants. So I'm wrapping it. I'm gonna put this down so you can see. I'm wrapping around both of these leaders here, and then I'm going to tie it back off, and that is going to support the big plant. Okay, so now we've got the big plant supported. So now what? So what we want to do is we want to look for leaders and see if we need to tie them off, because we don't want everything coming out here. We want everything going up and down this fence. So you can see this one is growing exactly in the right place. We don't have to do anything to it. This particular one, I want it to come out and run this way. So I'm going to run a very loose fitting tie right here to make sure it doesn't come out this way. I want it to go that way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look down here and see what else we got. I've got another leader coming up this way, so we're going to let it come out too. And then we're going to come over here, and we see that we've got this leader, and we're going to tie it so it's running out this way. And the one on the back is heading straight out, so I'm going to tie it so it is coming up near the trellis. I don't want it way out there. Okay, so now we've got them all tied up. You can see I've got that one back there tied so it won't go too far out the wrong way. Now we have to trim the leaves. Now the idea on trimming the leaves is you want to take all the bottom ones off. I've already showed you cutting some, but you want to take all the bottom ones off, because you don't want those to get disease from where they've touched the ground and come up and infect the whole plant. So we're going to take this one off, and we are going to take this big one here off because it was feeding this leader, which is already grown up. And we're going to come over here and look. We don't need that one. All right, we don't need the one hanging down there. We don't need that one back there. This is the leader coming up. Now, when you've got big leaves like this that are shading the leaders that are coming out, you can cut half the leaf off and it'll still live, but it won't make so much shade. So I'm going to do that one. Now this one, this big leaf here is feeding this leader, which hasn't really grown out yet. So I'm only going to cut half of it. The whole idea is we want to get the light down there to feed them. This particular one here doesn't have a leader, and it's just hanging down and feeding nothing. So we're going to go ahead and cut it. Okay. And the same thing with this one, except I used it to tie with, so I want it to stay alive. We're going to cut that about halfway. Okay, so now you can see the sunlight is getting down in there, and that's what we wanted. Okay, so I'm going to go around, and this one is a leader that's coming off, and this leaf over here we don't need. All right, we're going to let this one stay because it's feeding this leader. This particular long leaf we don't need, and it's shading out. Okay, and this one's coming off of a leader. We're going to keep half of it. This one we don't need. And once again, as the plants get taller, we'll quit cutting these big leaves off because we're going to want them to shade. But right now we want all this stuff that's in here to grow out. Okay, and so I think that's about all the trimming we need to do. And I'm sorry, I see one here that went all the way to the ground. It was feeding this leader. This leader's big enough to stand on its own. We'll cut it. And I believe I've got all the leaves out now that we want to cut off of this plant. So that's the thinking that you want to do. And now the base of this plant, all we need to do is pull the dirt back up. We want to cover where these roots and things are coming out. We're going to cover it to right here, and that way it's going to have plenty of roots and nutrition to feed this huge plant we're growing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we're going to put the mulch back on the plant so that it will have a nice steady supply of nutrients. When it rains, it'll take a long time to dry out. Okay, so there's the finished tomato plant, and it will grow now and make a huge plant, and these blooms will grow everywhere they're coming out. And as you can see, there's more coming here. There are more coming here. So all these leaders are about to bloom and make even more tomatoes. So that's what we're doing here. And this is how I'm going to get 100 pounds of tomatoes from just 5 plants. So this plant, it has decided to grow through the trellis. So it's doing really on its own what I wanted it to do. So really all I need to do to this one is I need to take these lower leaves off. You can see where something from the ground has already been eating that one. And I'm going to go ahead and take that leader off because it's just too low. Okay, and I see another leaf has gone out over there, and then I have a leader back there. So that leader I'm going to leave, and of course I'll tie it up later. Right now everything is looking so good, I don't really need to tie them. This particular leaf here, I'm going to cut half of it off because it is shading the leaders that are coming up that way. So let's cut half of it off. There we go. Kind of move it up there so this can get some sun. Like that. Okay. Now that one can get sun and it'll come on out. This particular leaf here, the same thing, half of it comes off. And then down here, this leaf is the leaf for that leader, and we don't need it. Taking it off. Okay. And over on the back side, I see one all the way down to the ground. We're going to take it off. Okay. And I'm going to take the straw out and pull dirt up around this one also. I'm going to do it for all 5 of these. Okay, so this is the largest of the plants that I have, and we can see that it's starting to bloom here. I've got a nice cluster of blooms here, and it's got very, very nice leaders coming out. This is the main stem, and then here's another leader coming here, and the only one that has fallen over is this one here, and so it's got to be tied up. And of course you can see this dirt that's on them that I hit with the rototiller today when I was plowing. But anyway, so what I'm going to do first on this one, since it's still standing very nicely upright, is I'm going to cut the leaves that I don't want on this particular plant first, and then I'll take the straw out and I will go ahead and put the dirt back. Okay, now I'm going to tie up the leaders to the fence here, and this one will be finished, except I need to pull the straw back. I'll go ahead and do that now that I can see what I'm doing. And once again, I'm going to show you all these roots that are popping out of the ground here. And that's why we're bringing more dirt in to make a mound around the base here, because this is going to be a huge plant and it's going to need to get all the nutrition it can. Later on, I will, once it sets fruit, I'll fertilize it again. But one mistake you don't make is at this point, when they're just starting to bloom, you do not fertilize them, because what that'll do is make them grow a whole bunch taller, whole bunch more leaves, and they might even quit blooming and the fruit might fall off. So don't do that. Do not fertilize them this time of year after you've got them up like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish working these. I'm going to pull the dirt up around them and all, and then I'll cut the camera back on and show you all the finished project. Okay folks, so I wanted to show you the finished mound that I put around these plants, and that mound is going to feed more roots and this huge plant that I'm building as I put the straw back on. I got to go get more straw, but anyway, that's how the finished product is going to look. And now we've got a plant that is just going to get huge, and it'll make about 20 pounds of tomatoes. And so I made a video that said how to make 100 pounds of tomatoes on just 5 plants, and these are the 5 plants. And this is how, by the way you tie them up and use these leaders as plants. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. It looks like I've got a thunderstorm coming here. It's going to rain. That'll be good. The whole garden needs some rain right now. And anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like and subscribe, because we're going to be following these tomato plants, and we're going to try to show you how I pick 100 pounds off of just these 5 plants. Thank you for watching.